at me.
Well, we're sitting here with one of the founding members of the Musicians Legacy and Legends Project himself, Karl Meister. Karl, it's great to be able to interview you today, and my hope is that we can get some good stories out of you, because you're always good for some good stories.
Well, my memory's not what it used to be, so.
Well, we're gonna test that today. So the idea is to have you tell us a little bit about how you got started in music and how you got started playing jazz.
Yeah, it all started, I was born very young, and but when I was 5 years old, my mother had this great, big, beautiful, upright piano. It was almost like a grand standing up on its edge. And my sisters took piano, and they would have all this piano teacher students would come to the house every week, and she'd give piano lessons all day there, and I sat and listened to them. So when I was 5 years old, I started taking piano lessons.
And that was here in Spokane?
Yeah, yeah. And I put a lot of time in on the piano, you know, playing all the recitals and everything, all the way up through. I played the piano until I was probably 11 years old, before I had already switched to the trombone when I was in the 5th grade. And it kind of,
so where were you going to school when you switched, when you started moving to trombone?
I was in Finch Grade School. I was in the all-city band, and then when I went to Havermale, I auditioned for the band, and I ended up on first chair when I first got there. So then I got too big for my britches. Thought I didn't need to practice, but all kids do that, I guess. So anyway, I stayed with the trombone all the way through high school. But when I was in Havermale, they had a smaller pet group that didn't play jazz, but played swing music, kind of.
Okay.
And then when I got to high school, after my first year, I tried out for the high school jazz band, which they called the pet band at that time. They played basketball games and stuff, and that was my first entrance into music, with the old Johnny Warrington arrangements and all that stuff.
I think people would be interested in knowing who the leader of that band was.
Marjorie Catlin was the name of the lady that was the head of the music department at Havermale. It's amazing. And in high school, my senior year, I was the first chair trombone, and I was in the pep band. And at that time, I was also in Graf Miller's jazz lab band at Hoffman Music.
That's kind of famous in the Spokane region, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of really great players in there, and that's where I really got into things that were more difficult and very challenging.
And during high school, you were at North Central?
North Central, yeah.
And that was in
Lowell
the days?
C. Bradford days, yeah. So I was in the marching band, I was in the orchestra, I was in the jazz band, I was in quartets, I was a soloist with the concert band. I got to do the whole thing myself.
That's very cool.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I went to Eastern. I was only at Eastern for 2 years, and I did something that caused me to lose my deferment. And all this time, I was still in the Graf Miller band. And when Dick Cross came out of the service, or wherever he was a singer and drummer, and they called it the Dick Cross Orchestra. And we played in different venues around town at that time.
So you played with a lot of people in Spokane?
Tons of them, yeah, yeah.
Who were some of the notables, some of the people that you really enjoyed playing with?
Well, the first actual band other than the Graf Miller group was Ralph Dickinson Orchestra, and I took Larry Brooks' place when he went with another band. He was already in it, and so yeah, Larry Brooks was one great trombone player. that was in the 1952-54 era with Graf Miller's again. And I went to Eastern and I played in their jazz band. So when I got out of the Army, I went back and played with Graf Miller's jazz live band for a while, but Jazz Gallery was starting up at that point in time in Spokane. And it was old Joe Sharper, Captain Johnson, Arnie. I was a trombone player. The funny thing was when I packed all my gear and walked into the band for the first time, I met somebody at the door who was leaving. He was the bass player. And they said, "Do you play bass?" And I said, "Oh, sort of." And he says, "Okay, you're it." So that's when I started playing bass. We need to pick it up a little faster.
Even in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go.
I screwed that up. Go ahead. Okay, do the intro one more
Still
time.
the tempo you wanted, huh?
Yeah.
Like a foxy little fart here. Oh, that's just faster than I was.
We're all good.
Okay, shall we go?
Sure.
All right, you want the turnaround thing yet? That thing
Okay,
goes
yeah.
in?
Mm-hmm. The beginning now.
Walk-in line for your solo if you want to solo.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you were going.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Okay.
We're on probably all this is,
All of it's on.
okay.
I'm gonna give Karl the outtakes and he can decide what he's
Tell
gonna
you what
back
to do.
in with.
Oh,
Okay, you wanna do it one more time and then take a solo with it?
okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do that.